no, I didn't.
Just real quick, I'm sorry. We are live, so this is live. So, okay,
Yeah.
we're here to answer questions. Thank you for here. We're taking Rock's questions. Rock, I'm sorry. Please continue, sir.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just telling you, I got here via Chicago. I was a Chicagoan, came to California, so I'm really grateful to be in California. I've been here 25 years, and I love the idea. I think it's the only way. There is no other answer to Donald Trump other than us becoming a country. I think it's a fantastic idea, and it's time it's come. As we get closer to the, it's going to be on the ballot if we get 50,000. You must have 50,000. I want to help you get 50,000. I'll do everything I can to get petitioned. I think in the by the time 2026 comes along, people are going to be so um, frustrated and with this whole with Trump. It's the timing is good right now. I think I'm sure. So I just want to know what I could do to help. And it's gonna be on the ballot 2026. Correct? If you get is all you
Yeah,
need.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here, Marcus.
The feds have to approve it though. Even if let's say we did get it approved by California voters, the feds, meaning Donald Trump, would have to approve us leaving.
Yeah. So, I'll address that right now. Um,
One last question. One last question: is there
sure.
any thoughts of getting maybe Washington, a couple other Western states along with us, or does it need to be done individually? Each state has to do their own thing.
Okay, so let's go over those questions, and then so the first question was, and for anybody that wants to get a hold of me, and what you're going to do, Marcus@calexitnow.org or marcus.ruiz.evans@gmail.com. Very easy. Send me an email. I will make sure it gets to the right person. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Rich, I know you're here. You're not connected. If you want to be connected, just let me know. Let's see here. Rich says he's only able to stay a few minutes. Rich, do you have any questions? Type them in the private chat and I'll address them. I know you have a little bit of a few questions. We're going to go to Rock's questions now. So here is Rock's questions. Is it legal? Is it legal? And
that's Laura's question.
Well,
I don't know. Whoever. Yeah.
Feds approve. I'm sorry. Feds approve. And Washington, right. Oregon.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to let in Jason Wright, head of Calexit, chairman of the board, and my boss.
Oh.
First question here. And by the way, as we always say, Jason started from the bottom and rose to the top. So he used to work for me. He was just a signature collector in the Bay Area. Then he started becoming special projects. Then he became a regional coordinator. Then he became vice president. Then he became interim president and became here. So this organization runs by people who put in the time. I'm the guy that started it. I now take orders from a guy I didn't even know 7 years ago because he's more ambitious at organizing than I am. So we are not wedded. We want you to run, lead, make it happen. All right. To get to Rock's questions, the feds have to approve this, right? Totally true. Absolutely. So under Texas versus White, the only Supreme Court case to talk about secession ever in 200 years of America, they say you can secede with, quote, consent of the states. A lot of the media is tricking Californians, and they will not admit that Texas versus White exists. They will not admit there's a Supreme Court case on secession, and they will not we're on Kristen, and they will not admit that consent is in there. By the way, consent was never defined. So some people say consent means amendment. They didn't say that. So nobody can actually say California to secede would have to mean an amendment process because that's not what they said. They said it would need consent. There's only one group in all of America who gets to officially determine what consent means. They're called the Supreme Court of America.
Mm.
So I would also point out there's a legal scholar called Erwin Chemerinsky. Erwin Chemerinsky. He's the most cited legal expert on his Wikipedia page over the last 5 years, and he's the top constitutional scholar in all of California. He's out of UC Berkeley, and his name's Erwin Chemerinsky. He was asked in 2017 about consent and Calexit. A simple majority vote of Congress would be all it takes. So the reason I pointed out is you're right. We do need federal approval. Some people are saying amendment, which means 2/3 of Congress, and then you have to travel around and go to all 50 states and get 2/3 of the states. We're saying that's total garbage, and nobody's qualified to make that statement. Only the Supreme Court can define what consent means. Only the Supreme Court can say consent automatically must mean the amendment process. Top legal scholars have said it could mean just a simple 51% vote of Congress, which we have enough Republicans now to vote us out. The fact is that part of the reason that a lot of Californians are horrified is why this is the best time for Calexit. The Republicans are in more power than they've been in 100 years. So you may have seen some liberal magazines saying, oh, there's trifecta governments here and there. It's okay. I'm going to add Susan.
Hi.
Hey, I'll get to you in just a second. We're taking questions in order. Give me a second. Back around. We're going to get to everybody's questions. So you could have the Republicans are in power now, and that's scary for us. What's interesting, though, is that the Republicans are more powerful than they've been at any time in the last century. You got to go back 100 years. I mean it, to go to a time when the Republicans had this much power. So George H.W. Bush, W., had control of the House, Senate, and the presidency. You have to go back to the 1920s to find Republicans had control of the House, Senate, presidency, and Supreme Court. Period. They've never had this level of power since 1920s. Guess what happened after they were in charge in the 1920s? The Great Depression. Yeah. So the last time the Republicans had this much power where they own the House, Senate, presidency, and Supreme Court, they caused the Great Depression. Just that's a historical fact.
Yeah.
You're not going to see this in the news. They're going to say, oh, well, midterms could come around and we could switch it. Garbage. They own 4 branches. You got to go back 100 years to find when they have that kind of power. Now, if you're looking for Calexit, that's great because they hate us, right?
Yep.
Los Angeles Times, 6 months ago, 48% of Republicans said all Californians are, quote, not American. 48% of all Republicans in America, according to a poll by the Los Angeles Times only 6 months ago, said, I don't see you as Americans. Half. That's the national level, which means that includes some California Republicans. If you pull those out and you're just looking at Republicans outside of California, it goes higher than 48%. Remember, California Republicans are going to be a little more moderate because they're like, well, I live here. So they're part of the survey. If we pull them out and you're just looking at Republicans outside of California, it goes over half. Say, you're not an American, Californian. I don't see you as an American. I literally said that on a survey. And then the president of America, when Palisades fire happened and people are dead and there are bodies on the ground and people are homeless and destitute and tearing their hair out, says, I don't know if I really want to help because I don't really like you guys and I don't like your policies.
He likes our money, though. That's the only thing.
Sure.
He likes our money.
Sure, he does. But why give money to somebody who's abusive to us?
Yeah. But I mean, that'd be the only reason why he would not allow us is the money. He does not like California.
Yeah, so
we'll
get to that. We'll get to the money thing. I'll just add that in right now. Give me a second here. So
I'd like to withhold our tax money and not give it to the feds.
Here's the thing. So let me address that right now. Then we'll get to Oregon, Washington, and then we're going to go to Laura Estrada, who asked questions first, but we'll go to this. So real quick, A lot of people have said the Republicans won't let us go because California makes so much money. I've seen that a lot. And my question to these people is, how do you know they know that? How do you know that the Republicans are actually aware that California makes them so much money? Here's what I mean. If you've watched Fox News, Breitbart, Newsmax, I'm in the Central Valley. I have friends and family who do this every day. I have to see it. I'm disgusted by it. I don't get a leave. Okay, I see it every day. All they talk about is California's horrible with money. California's run by Democrats. California's bad for business. California chases away business. California has undocumented immigrants, which take federal money. California has forest fires, which take federal money. There's no commentary anywhere in the last 3 decades on any conservative TV show or radio show that says, you know what? California is great at economics. They're better than us conservative states. And it turns out that we're the welfare queens that depend on their largesse. We've had it totally backwards. All the time that we said that California is horrible for business, we were lying. They're better than us Republicans, and we Republicans depend upon them for basically welfare to get by. Nobody's ever said that in 3 decades on any TV station or radio show. So how do we know Republicans actually know this? Secondly, when Republicans were in Congress, when Trump was president, they literally had a conference in Congress about how California sucks up federal resources and they have to subsidize us. The Los Angeles Times and the San Francisco Chronicle were so flabbergasted. They had to write editorials going, I don't know what bizarro world we're in. This is completely not true. But Republicans in Congress had a full-on convention about how they subsidize California. So what evidence is there that any Republican actually recognizes how much money we give them? There's no one saying it. No one said it in 30 years. There's not one episode on conservative TV or radio you could show me. And they literally had a conference saying the opposite. So where's that proof that they secretly don't think that this whole time?
Well, that's good then. They don't like us. I've lived in different places. In Chicago, they hate Californians. And you got to live somewhere else to hear what people say about California. They don't like us, which is a good thing. Maybe they'll let us go, and especially if they don't know that we're giving the feds a lot of money, maybe they'll just let us go.
They don't know. You, like, if I say that if you're my cousin, and I say every day you're on welfare, that guy can't hold a job, I have to cover for him, I have to feed him, I have to pay his rent. Right. And I say that every day for 30 years. Yeah. And then one day, 30 years in the future, I go, actually, I lied about the whole thing. The guy's great with money. Are you going to believe me, or are you going to think I'm a little bit schizophrenic? And maybe, it's that you can't walk it back. It's called political suicide. So even Trump can't say certain things. Yeah. I know it seems like he gets to say whatever he wants, but there's fourth rails he can't touch, like Social Security. So there are things that they can say and don't do. They don't educate themselves on this. They've said the opposite. So I've had a lot of people say, won't they let us go? Republicans are more ignorant than you can possibly believe. I'm an ex-Republican.
I mean, just listen to Trump for a while.
Exactly. And this is the third election where they have tried to pick that man. I was a Republican. I left in 2012 because I saw the Republicans were moving to embracing white supremacy under Mitt Romney. 4 years before Trump ever came by, I saw exactly what they're doing. George H.W. Bush, for all his faults, had 50% of the Latin vote. Romney dropped it down to 20%. Wouldn't speak Spanish, wouldn't talk about Mexico. Romney speaks fluent Spanish, has ties to Mexico, has family in Mexico, would mention none of it. Dropped the Latin percentage from 50, which is half, to 20. And they didn't complain. That told me you are not interested in brown-skinned people being part of your coalition. You would rather lose elections than recognize demographic reality. And I left then. I had no idea it was going to get worse under Trump. So they're dumb. They're ignorant. They believe ignorance. How smart is it to say I'm a political party and I don't want minorities in my party, but I think I'm going to win elections in the future? That's just dumb. Well, and they've been doing that. So I always question the logic. Also, let's point out, politics isn't always about logic. It's about feeling. Finally, we'll get to Oregon, Washington. We'll move on to the next question. So Oregon, Washington, if they have independence movements and there's people in those states saying they want to join us, then we could be open to that. I haven't seen anybody do that. We as Californians can't approach Oregon and Washington and say, you should leave and you should come with us. That looks politically weak. Yeah. Now, if Oregon and Washington want to leave and they say, hey, we want to go with you, Californians, now we're doing something.
How about Canada? We'll
I'll have to come back to you. I promised.
This a thought. You know,
Laurel Estrada. Are you there?
That's a good name.
Sorry for making you wait. Laurel Estrada, are you there?
Oh, I had to unmute myself. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
What are your questions? Ask anything, please.
Oh, because I have a million.
We'll do the top three. We'll do the top three, and then I'll come back to you.
Okay. I was listening how you're saying that, you know, like that they don't know. They don't know that we are a top, you know, contributor. When really, like, they can't survive without us. But there is going to be, there is people that know, you know what I mean? But they're not going to admit it publicly, you know?
Which is the same thing. That's what I call political suicide. So I know this to be the truth, but I will never speak it to my constituents because they would vote me out of office. That's just as good as if they don't know. I don't know it or I can't say it is the same thing. They're never going to say it publicly, so their constituents will never know. That's a way.
Right. Like they hate us, but they want our money.
Yep.
A Republican would have to go to his constituents, or she would have to go to her constituents and say, when I told you these liberals are horrible at money and they have undocumented cities and climate change, and that's all horrible, it was all a lie. We've lied to you for 30 years. Turns out those liberals are so much better at economics than us Republicans, and everything we complained about them was a total lie. You will be politically destroyed if you say that as a Republican. You will be ruined and done. So even if they know it, good luck trying to say that publicly and get anywhere. Totally agree with you, Laurel. What's your next question? Laurel, any other questions? Okay, we'll come back to Laurel. Let's go to Carla. I want to make sure we get everybody. Carla and Laurel, when you come back, we'll get another question in. Carla, what questions do you have? What information would you like to know?
Well, I feel like, you know, we're kind of independent and grassroots. So I'm kind of playing around with, we're going to be making my own posters. Are we allowed our own creativity, just getting the sense across so we can get that petition signed? Are there any graphical guidelines?
You can make your own graphics and advertisements for it as long as you say Calexit now. That's the key thing. So, so
the question then, because I had Calexit and I wrote USA underneath that, because that's really what I want it to be doing, is exiting the USA.
That's fine too. So we are coming up with corporate advertising, and we are bringing on a public relations expert and a graphic artist, and we will be creating that and shipping that to you. In the meantime, while that's get going, I have always had the opinion of you should make graphics that sell for your area. So people in Orange County need to be talked to differently than San Francisco, Oakland, Walnut Creek, right? Is not exactly the same as Berkeley or Oakland. There's a way to phrase things. You know best how to do that. So if saying Calexit from America with an American flag is the way to get people to go, oh, then that's the right answer. As I've told many of you, your opinion doesn't matter. My opinion doesn't matter. The market's opinion matters. If people want to hear you go blah, 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 and wear a purple horse outfit, and that's what gets them on the page for Calexit, that's what we should be doing. Now, obviously, I'm cartooning it, but you know the right phrase, you know the area, you know the imagery that's going to speak to them, and also you're able to experiment and find the right thing. So if you're like, I think this is the message that speaks to me, I think this is the message that when people see this, they're like, oh, she means Calexit. Great. The longer it takes for someone to get to what you're trying to talk about, the worse it is. You want people to see you and understand you're talking about breaking off from America within the first couple seconds. You will typically have a much better conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. You want a second question, Carla?
I'm good.
Okay, let's go to
If I may, real quick, Marcus,
Jason, right, chairman of the board.
I would just like to personally give a huge, huge shout out to Carla Winter. Here, I'll turn on my camera. I'm not dressed fancy. I'm actually in the middle of moving my things from Oregon down to Fresno. But huge shout out to Carla for doing such awesome work on Signature Gathering. You rock.
Yeah. We're clapping.
Carla's been possibly the most prolific signature gatherer. So it's not a competition. It's not a competition.
We got to get tips from her how she does it. That's what we need.
Not
Hey,
a
Carla, you got any tips?
but it helps.
Say that again.
It helps.
What helps?
Put a little competition in there for fun. Only for
Oh, okay.
So you're not going to give us any tips?
What
Well,
tips do you have?
I'm playing around with strategies and ideas now. And then when I took a look and I said, well, where are we now? And at least I've got some energy and time to focus on this a little better than I had been. So that's when I started thinking about, creating some at least temporary graphics for myself. I think that my hands grassroots graphics actually might be beneficial than looking to manufactured. I started with the churches, with the people that I know the best, and was able to create an open conversation, and actually it needed more answers at the time. I've been also eyeballing the farmers markets, libraries. As long as there's you've got a public place and there's good visibility, and you're harmonizing with the environment, and have a friendly, approachable disposition.
What's the biggest negative that you get, Carla?
I don't have time to deal with this now. I'm the same way. I'll immediately put up blocks and resistance to anybody approaching me with anything, because we're all being hit from so many different directions, and also along with, there's a lot of, the nature of the times are going to work for us as well as against us. For myself, I'm just real clear. I'm unplugging from all that negativity, and I'm putting my energy in a positive way, and may it grow good things from there. So we'll stay focused and keep going forward.
Okay.
Carla's been prolific. It's not a competition. Maybe it should be, but we appreciate all you getting signatures. If you can get one, it's important. If you can get multiple sheets, it's important. Whatever you can do, whatever you can give is important, and we need it. We were talking to one person who was paralyzed. Obviously, you can't do a whole lot, but if you can just get one signature and mail it, it takes you a week. It helps. And we want to say thank you to everybody. All your contributions help. And we also want to highlight people like Carla, who are just crushing it, really getting out there, collecting lots of signatures, meeting all sorts of people, having these conversations. And, and now is in a position where she can tell us, here's the questions I hear, and here's the questions I don't hear. I know talking to you, I've heard that. Also,
your friends and your family, whether they believe the cause or not, they might just believe you.
Okay. Let's go to Susan, and then we'll go to we're going to go to Susan, and then we will go to Kristen, and then we'll go from there. Susan, what questions do you have? Anything at all? Oh, let me unmute you. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're unmuted. What questions do you have, Susan?
So I came a couple weeks ago. I think I missed a week, but I went to the website and I downloaded the petition, which is in very tiny, tiny letters. But and I just want to make sure I understand it. It looks like we need to go and have it printed somewhere because it's 11 by 17.
Yes, you need to
Okay.
have it printed. Most unfortunately, because of California law, they've
Okay.
made the signature gathering process as difficult as possible.
Hmm.
So it used to be $200 to file. Now it's 2,000. It used to be 6+ months. Now it's 5.5. It used to be half the signatures. Now it's 600,000. They don't want the public to have access to this, so they've made it as onerous and difficult as possible. I apologize, but that's what the California government's done since 2010. They've made these conditions, so you have to have small text. So you do need to print it out on 11 by 17, double-sided. We have instructions in the email that's gone out to about 25, 30,000 people. You'll need to fill out the circulator section on the bottom, and then you'll need to get people's signatures where it says there's 6 options for people to sign. All of them have to be registered voters in California. The address that they sign with has to match the address for their voter registration.
Okay.
And I'm sorry it is difficult.
No, that's okay.
We thought about making a smaller initiative, but then what happens is people say, oh, well, you want to do a blue ribbon panel investigation. How do you know it's not going to be corrupted or hijacked or screwed with or turned into some monster? So we had to put a lot of background in there so that people would know it's something they could trust. Unfortunately, that makes the document large. So
that's okay. Okay. And so, and I even on my computer, it was hard to read, but I'll go print them out. And then it sounds like from Carla that we just can go set up a table someplace and start doing it. But you're going to somehow send signs or whatever, or.
So we are working on that right now.
Okay.
We created a pitch deck this week. Pitch deck is something that you use to approach high dollar investors. We also created 2 separate bank accounts that will be linking to the donation bar. We've also created a Cali token, which will be released soon. I can't go into detail too much. Jason knows a lot about that. And we're hoping to be able to raise a variety of revenue for that, to be able to do general advertising, provide gear, shirts, advertisements, posters to people, have more training where we're able to go there and physically be with you, and then also hire some professional signature gatherers to ensure that we get over the finish line when we need to.
And do you know how many signatures you have so far?
We estimate about 125,000.
Okay.
We are also working on bringing on an email list of an additional 60,000 people, which we predict we can get an additional 120,000 out of it, which would raise us to a total of 246,000 signatures is what we're estimating within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. And the deadline is when?
July.
July
this year?
Yes.
July what though?
I don't have the date in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have like 3 months, 3.5
Yes.
months. Okay.
We need 600,000 was the number?
Yes.
And
600,000.
Okay. And then somewhere on there, it says where to mail them, I assume. Like when we get them, what do we do with them?
You send them to your county registrar of voters.
Oh, okay.
And it's July 22nd.
July 22nd.
Okay.
Yes.
County registrar of voters. Okay. And the other question I had was, one of the things I'm getting from people is, well, I hate to take, 54 electoral college votes or whatever out of circulation, right? So I've said, no, there's a specific number of representatives or representative districts, and they'll just redistrict. So it won't be taken out. It will be, the rest of the country will be redistricted. But that costs money. Who is going to pay for the redistricting for the whole country?
Everybody who pays federal taxes that year. So if you pay federal taxes, which you are obligated to by law, it's a felony not to, unless you didn't make enough. That goes in the federal treasury, and the money would automatically be pulled from that. So there will be money for it, and there's no way they can stop that unless people want to commit mass felonies, which is also the reason why. It's a very popular idea in California to say, let's not pay federal income taxes. It's very popular. We at Calexit officially can't say that because you're recommending people commit a felony. It is a felony to not pay federal income taxes. And if you're a registered organization and you're telling people that, you're telling them to commit a crime. Whereas filing the initiative and calling your legislator to move us legal in the process of secession is completely 100% legal. So you guys can say whatever you want. We will not be saying that message for that legal reason. I'm sorry,
Well,
Susan.
we shouldn't be doing it either then.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're sitting at a table and somebody because that's actually a good talking point. And what my next question is about that. But because I know both of my, a lot of my friends are saying, oh my God, I can't, the idea that my taxes are going to go to all this crap that he's doing is really upsetting to me. And then I say, so what do you think the solution is? We need to have right. So it's actually a really good talking point. But I mean, I'm old enough to remember when people didn't pay taxes during the Vietnam War and they went to jail,
True.
And that was a thing that happened. So I don't think that if you're sitting there with a sign that says Calexit now, we shouldn't be saying that. We shouldn't be telling people to do that.
I don't want to tell people what to say. We as an organization will not be doing that and recommending that. And I'm making sure people are informed that you know what you're doing before you do it. So.
Okay, I had one last question, and that is I've always found when I work on anything that is sort of a norm change, you're trying to change something, right?
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
This is norm
You
change.
got it. You got it.
And I've done several campaigns for norm change in various capacities. Anyway, but talking points are a really important thing. And I want to make sure I have them right and everything. But you were going, I mean, it doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe it's 5, you know what I mean? But we should have some talking points. And I don't know if Carla has some that she just knows in her head, or maybe she's written them down. But if she could share that, or anybody could share that, I mean, the whole tax thing is a really good one that I hadn't thought of before.
So we have a video called the top 10 questions. And
okay.
Carla gets some questions too, and we put that in there. I will tell you all this thing though. This is my experience. If you talk to somebody and they ask more than 2 questions, they're never really going to be sold. That's 95% chance.
But I asked a lot of questions and I'm sold.
Right.
So I don't know if that's true.
Well,
Sorry.
you're the 5%. I'm just saying, based upon having done this to 1,000 people and been here 10 years and doing this in the Bay Area, Los Angeles, San Diego, Central Valley, Sacramento, and having hundreds of volunteers and feeding back, we're finding that most people, not everybody, of course not. A lot of people have 1 or 2 questions. And if you answer those, it's enough for them to say, I'll look in further. They're not 100% on board, but they're going, I'll check it out, and I'm interested, and I'll check it out. What we found is that if somebody has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they're never going to say yes. Now, maybe that's not your experience. Okay. This is an education video. This is what we found in 95% of the times. Obviously, there's a 5% where that doesn't apply. So that's
okay, so I should look at the top 10 questions and take notes and make my own talking.
Yeah. Email me at marcus.calexitnow.org or marcus.ruiz.evans and say, hey, I'm Susan and I need that top 10 question video, and I'll get it to you right away. Okay, it's not on the website? It is on the website.
Mine too.
Unfortunately, the webpage has a lot of material and not everybody's able to find exactly. Okay, I'll just respond to the notice that I got about the meeting with the link. And and I'll make sure you get it. We do have a video on the top 10 questions. Okay. In general, though, most people are already on board, is what we're finding. So they have already. They don't even know about the petition. Like the petition says, we're going to set up a commission to look into how to do this. Mm-hmm. And the other question, just so I was clear, and it's not because I'm not a believer, is that it sounds like the petition, the actual proposition will, if it passes, let's say, it will. We don't have to have another election after. Right? Like it sets up how to do it, and then we go to Washington. But it doesn't say we set up how to do it, then we're going to have another proposition on the ballot that says, do we want to do this? It does. It actually does. So I'll walk you through it again. Sorry. No, it's all good. This is why we do this. So first, I want to tell everybody You don't have to wait the years for the petition to play out. Hey, I'm scared of Trump now. Great. The initiative is important only for what it compels the California government to do. The initiative is designed to force the California government, against their will if they choose to be in opposition, to do two things: an official investigation by the California government into secession, and to place the quote or question in a future election or a special election
Okay.
saying, do you want to leave? So I know it's complicated, but in order to do it legally, we're collecting signatures. This would go on the ballot in 2026. In 2026, people would say, I want this. If they say I want it, then in 2028 is when you have the election. Now, some people have said, I don't want to wait that long. Great. If you call your legislator, you can demand the blue ribbon panel now. You can demand them to put the question on the next election or call a special election now. It only takes one assembly member in Sacramento to call for a blue ribbon panel and 5 to 6 to back it up. So if 7 people total in Sacramento say, I think we should have an investigation on secession, it happens like that. The initiative process is just our way that's available to us, the public, to force them to do this if they didn't want to. If we had 1 million people call Sacramento tomorrow, they'd be having it enacted this week. And they could do the same thing with the election. We don't have to wait. The initiative takes longer, but it also forces people to be aware of this and have this conversation. We're letting people know here's the options.
Right. And we need to build up the information so that when there is a vote, then we get the right answer. To go through all this, but to just sort of do it too quickly also isn't.
You are brilliant, Susan. Make sure to mention. No, you are. Please mention and email me about you worked on a norm campaign, because you're saying the same thing that Dr. X said. So when we brought Sir Dr. X in as a CEO, he said, we need this campaign to not just be for signature collection, but for convincing people for the vote. Yeah. And we need to be thinking long-term and operate that long-term. Same thing you said. First thing out of his mouth.
Yeah. The other thing I'm getting, and maybe everybody else is people are like, oh no, we should work toward electing the right people in 2026. And I always think of what you said, which is, look at all the people that voted for him. This is America now. People who say, oh, this is not really us. That's not true. This is where we are now. And it's been building up for years, So that's my response is I'm kind of torn. I have friends that are like, oh, come to this meeting, come to this, come to this, come to this. And some of that stuff is fine. The demonstrations, I think, are important to have these mass demonstrations. But, my big thing is we just need to get out. It's like a bad marriage or a bad job or something, right?
That's why people are here. The other options aren't working. One of the critiques we've had is this is radical. This is extreme. Yes, it is. It's 100% legal, though. And if you had a tumor the size of a baseball next to your heart, and you go to the doctors and they say, we have to cut your whole chest open to save your life. And you go, that's radical. I don't know. That's extreme. I'm sorry. You're past the point of nice options and pills. You have a baseball-sized tumor next to your heart and your chest. You're going to die soon. So we're way past, oh, we could do this. And just one more election. We're way past that. It doesn't work. We're at super radical options. This is definitely radical. But what are you supposed to do if you have massive amounts of cancer? Not undergo radical surgery or radical chemotherapy? No, every doctor will tell you that. If you want to live, that's where we're at. I mean, I'm sure you heard about the professor's husband who was disappeared. She went to a protest and then Trump locked up her husband because he's not technically a citizen. They don't know where that guy is. And it's because she went and protested. So we're there now. I'm sure you saw with Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, there was confirmation hearings. Will you gun down protesters if given the order? I choose not to answer.
Yeah.
Folks, I always use this term. I have a lot of Jewish friends. I've been influenced by Jewish rabbis. We are in Kristallnacht.
Well, what?
Attention.
What was that?
We are in Kristallnacht. This is ours.
It's a Hebrew saying? I've never heard that before.
It's an event that happened when they broke many, many, many windows. So Crystal Night. And it was like when people started to realize Hitler was
Yeah.
not just a clown, not just an idiot, not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
somebody that you can laugh at, you know.
That's Trump.
Yeah.
So there's a story I always tell. There's two types of Jews. Those who saw Kristallnacht and said, it's fine. I know they broke our shops and they shattered the glass. And I know Hitler wrote a book about eliminating us. And I know they put Heinrich Himmler in charge. But come on, man. They've never done this. They're not really going to do it. It's just talk. Calm down. You're overreacting. All those people who thought that are dead. All of them.
If you were an optimist, if you were optimist in Nazi Germany, you ended up in the
you're dead
in the ovens.
Yep.
If you were a pessimist, what did they say? You ended up in Beverly Hills or something, you know?
Yeah, New York City. So the people who saw that and go, are you kidding? The leader of the country has a book out about how we're the enemies. They're appointing alt-right white supremacists in key positions. And now they went and attacked all Jews. And the police didn't even bother to help us. That wasn't enough for you to realize it's over? Time to get out? Wow. That's where we're at. I mean, if the Secretary of Defense saying, I choose not to answer the question when asked, will you gun down liberal protesters, isn't enough for you to wake up, I don't know what is. I don't have anything for you. If the president gets nominated and then he said, I'm sorry, Jay.
Oh, I was just going to say, and a key comparison to make between now and then being the rise of fascism and World War II. It's really widely talked about that, yes, Hitler went after the Jews by and large. But first, he got rid of all the opposition.
Right.
Anyone who stood any chance of getting anything done about him. Then he went for all the Jews and the hippies and the gays and the Muslims and so what we're seeing now in relation to, right? If you look at it, yes, by and large, Trumpelstiltskin and that weird looking dude, the white supremacist guy. Oh no, other weird looking white supremacist guy. The Stephen Miller guy.
Yeah.
The monster. Yeah, the modern day
Mr.
girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're by and large vilifying the brown people.
Yeah.
However, if you look at it, they are also attacking all of the opposition, left and right, as much as they can. They are undermining their own federal government that they control just to be sure that they have rooted out anyone who's not them.
Yeah, judges. They're after getting rid of judges that don't agree with them.
This is exactingly, literally what Adolf Hitler and the Nazi or the National Sozialistische Party of Germany at that time. This is exactly the playbook they used.
Yeah.
The exact plan. To the T, pretty much, just a modern version. Instead of marching people to trains, they're marching them onto planes.
Yep.
They're still sending them to concentration camps.
Yeah, they're sending them for slave labor. I mean,
Yeah.
it's every day you say, oh God, how could it get worse? And then it does.
It will.
It gets worse. I mean, it's just yeah. So I like the whole thing. It's over, time to get out. Like that's my.
Yeah, that should be your attitude, is that I understand some people haven't heard the initiative. Okay, you take a different stance with them, but for a lot of people, it should be, are you not seeing what's going on? I mean, are you not seeing what's going on? And are you seeing and going, that's okay. There's this meme of a dog with the room behind him on fire. And the dog has a coffee mug and says, this is okay. It's all over the internet. That's you. That's the doubter, is things are burning down around you. And you're like, no, hey, I got my cup of coffee. My other favorite one is, let's say you and I are on a yacht and the yacht sinks an inch, and then it sinks another inch, and then it sinks another inch. And then it comes up to our ankles, and I turn to you and say, can we have a conversation about a life raft? And you go, idiot.
Yeah.
Who's the idiot?
Yeah.
We can't have a conversation. We can't have a conversation about a life raft while you're noticing the ship sinking. How logical is that? Who owns a home without home insurance? No one. No one in
Actually,
the
a
right
lot
mind.
of people do now.
Well, because they're forced to, not
Right.
because
I
they
mean, there's
chose and said, this is what I want. It's because of inflation. So we're there. I got to get to some other questions. I do want to
Thank
answer
you.
one of them. Leaving America means abandoning liberals. We're going to do that. Then we're going to go to Kristen, and then we'll go to guest who just joined. I'll call on everybody. Kristen, you're coming up next.
Yeah.
Leaving America means abandoning liberals. No, it doesn't. So here's why. Like you already said. So every 10 years, there's this thing called the U.S. Census, and they have to reapportion people. This was national news a few months ago. California lost congressional seats for the first time since the 1960s. All over us. What happened? They moved those seats to other states. So the way that it works in America is there's a fixed number of electoral college votes, and there's a fixed number of people who sit in Congress. If California leaves, those positions don't just disappear. They are redistributed. The law since roughly 1870 has been they go to the next 10 most populous states. The next 10 most populous states are roughly half liberal, half conservative. I don't know why reporters can't report this. I don't know why people can't explain this. It's been around for 150 years. It's the law. Also, you see it exercised every 10 years with the census. I'm not sure why people are still, why they can't report this, but that's basically it. You're not abandoning liberals. It goes to a wash. Okay, we'll move on to Kristen's comments.
Hi, Marcus.
How's it going?
I have more questions as usual, but I'll just start with two off the top.
Sure.
And one is last week you mentioned that you had an in-depth interview with somebody from the Chronicle, San Francisco Chronicle. I have not seen that published yet. Has it come out?
I'm not sure. We were told that it would be out today or not long after today. We were working with Raheem at the San Francisco Chronicle. They did about 3 weeks of interviews, which is not normal. And they interviewed me 2 or 3 times, Jason 2 or 3 times, and X 2 or 3 times. The only other time that we've had that much of intense attention from a reputable agency was when they did the 8-part documentary series on us. Now, we never guarantee what happens when we do interviews, but we're expecting an in-depth expose article that's going to put us over the top and is going to really highlight that Dr. X and people of that caliber are part of this, and we expect to have a massive cascade of other people at that level joining.
Marcus, you were on television on an interview. I saw you.
Thank you.
Just a couple weeks ago.
Yep. Yeah, we try.
That had to. A lot of people had to see that when you're on TV.
They did.
Where was it? Where?
CBS San Francisco did an interview, and then KC24 did a 10-minute interview. If you type those in, or just Marcus Evans, Ruiz Evans.
It says you've been at it for 7 years or something like that.
I started the whole thing in 2012 with the book California's Next Century 2.0. That's California's Next Century 2.0. It's available on Amazon. The first news article talking about California being independent from America from a serious reporter in a serious news agency about a serious topic was by Tom Elias in 2013 for LA Daily News, called How Would California Do on Its Own? And it was a book review of my book. That was the first time anybody talked about Calexit seriously. So I'm basically the godfather, the progenitor.
What's your book called?
California's Next Century 2.0, or you can go to Amazon and type in Marcus Ruiz Evans. You'll see that book in our new policy book. And this is, again, why it's important to point out that my boss and the head of Calexit is Jason Wright. It's not me. I started this. I could have been leader. I didn't want to be. There's other people who are more talented in that position than me. And I keep bringing this up so that you all know this isn't about ego. It's not about ownership. It's about winning. Very important to us. Kristen, you have another question?
Yeah. So this is more of a comment. I did write to my California Assembly person, who is Diane Papin, and I wrote quite a long, message to her explaining, the Calexit thing, and I did not hear a single thing back from her.
Oh,
So yeah, that was kind of disappointing.
You did the right thing, and the way this works is that we apply more pressure. So one person they can ignore, 100,000 they can't. So you did the right thing. You're just way ahead of everybody, and we need to get everybody to do what you did. Politicians will not respond if they don't have to. They're busy. They don't want to deal with you. If you look at California politicians, like I think in Wyoming, it's like 5,000 people per one politician, and in California, it's like 3 million per one politician. So they're not going to respond unless they have to, which is why it's a pressure campaign with lots of people. You did the right thing, Kristen. It wasn't a waste. We just need a lot more people to do it. That's how it works.
Okay, one more question for now, and that is last week. Also, you told me you'd send me the contact information for somebody else in San Mateo County who is working on Calexit.
I need to do that. You're right. I'm sorry. That's my
because
bad.
I feel like I'm just working all alone up here. I have a lot of friends who are in the resistance. I mean, they're out there marching and calling their Congress people and
what's that going to do?
And holding up signs and demonstrating all that.
I'm sure Trump finds that very scary.
Yeah, well,
or not scary at all.
I think it's important to do because it allows other people to stand up and say, wait a minute, this is, terrible.
True.
So I think it's important. And I think it's important to, put the pressure on because, you're going like, where's the Congress people? Why aren't they standing up and screaming, And I still want them to do that while we're still part of the U.S. right now. Maybe we'll be able to get out. But, right now, so yeah, it's hard because you have to do two things. And I'm like too old for this kind of crap.
It is important to protest. What I'm concerned about is, and this is what we saw in 2016, we had people who saw that we were going through this legal route and it took time and you had to do this the right way. And they're like, I'm just going to go protest. Right. And they went off and did that. And they're like, I'm not really going to do your thing. Great. That was the decision we made. We're 10 years later and it's still day one problem that solved absolutely nothing. So protesting is important. I love protesting, letting Trump know that that is true. But I'm concerned about the people who will say to themselves, I went to these protests, and so that's just as good at finding a solution as Calexit. It's not. We're our third election in a row where Trump is the candidate. That means he has roughly a 10-year decade period. He's committed an insurrection, and he's now more popular than ever after committing an insurrection. I always ask people, name the stable Western country where that happens, where a leader commits an insurrection and then gets the run 3 times and is more popular than ever. And the party who commits an insurrection walks back their stance on it. Name the stable country where that happens. Nobody can name one because it doesn't happen in stable countries. Third, this is the third election. We were told we're going to get him. Federalism's going to work. We're going to impeach him. You've tried 2 impeachment trials, 5 to 7 federal state court trials. He beat everything. He's still here. Biden, when he won in 2020, said there's going to be a national calming. And the Republicans are going to learn that they were wrong, and they're going to turn against Trump. That's a garbage thought. No one believes that. So nobody believes that after 2 impeachments and 5 to 7 court trials, the system will work. And after 3 elections, you can just convince them differently. And after an insurrection and he's more popular, the Republicans are going to come to their senses. That's all garbage.
You know what this protest is good for? I was at these protests in Santa Cruz. That's a good place to get signatures for California.
Protests.
Oh, that is a great idea.
That is a bet, Monty.
Absolutely.
That is the best
100%.
place to get signatures.
Absolutely. Protests are awesome. I love protests. I just want to make sure we have that awareness.
Because these are people aren't happy. We have the answer.
Exactly. You got it right there. You have the answer. This is the real answer. Is
That's a good idea.
So
the big April 5th one, the April 5th protest.
Where's that at?
Yeah. And
Where
then
will that be at?
it's everywhere. So it's hands off. It's
Okay.
it's kind of an anti-must.
Hands off. April
Hands off
5th.
everything. Hands off our democracy. Hands off our Social Security. Hands off, USAID. Hands off. So there's a million things you can make signs for. But
Brilliant.
yeah,
Brilliant idea, Susan.
that's what I'm telling my protester friends, that you can go to all these protests, but It's like we're protesting everything everywhere all at once. It's not focused. It's
Right.
hard for people to wrap their mind around
Well,
it.
that was by plan. That was part of their plan. We're going to do all this shit every day. We're going to announce another thing that people are going to be outraged about, and it is very hard to focus. But it's still
It's
is
good.
impressive when there's hundreds of
Protest is
thousands
good.
of people.
Protest is good.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I
it's
have
also
other,
a good place to get signatures, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my stuff together for that.
so
Do
at least
both. Do both. Do it all.
yeah, at least the Calexit thing is a little more focused. So
It's a
That's-
fix.
yeah.
With the protest isn't a fix.
So
No,
I have
yeah.
other questions, but we can come back to that later because
Well, go ahead and ask one
they're a
more,
little
and then
more
I'm going to
involved.
go to some questions from the chat. One more, Kristen. Then we'll go to chat questions.
Okay, so this has come up in discussions. There are some, huge agencies, for example, NOAA. I'm really upset about NOAA being cut back. And, others, FDA, CDC, the National Weather Service. These
Yeah.
are agencies California could not support by itself. So we would miss out on data coming from those agencies if we separate from the union, right? We can't
No.
by ourselves, even with our excess amount of revenue. We cannot create
That's
a whole
totally
new
incorrect. Everything you said, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive, but everything you said is totally incorrect. So
Explain
I'll walk
though.
you through it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll walk you through it. So California is a donor state. We subsidize 35 to 45 states. In 2019, we lost 20 billion. I think in 2016 or 2017, we lost 88 billion. 20 billion, just so that you get an idea, is the amount of money it would take to permanently end homelessness in the Bay Area forever. That's according to California experts. So in 1 year, on a light year, in 1 year, we lost enough money to permanently, not temporarily, permanently wipe out homelessness in the entire Bay Area forever into perpetuity. In 4 years, it would have done the same thing for LA. That's how much we're losing. And then when you add on top of that the amount of money that we lose with international sales, held up trade relations, etc., and then arguing with the federal government. I mean, we have to spend extra millions to go into lawsuits with them. Yeah. So now when we look at that, and recently the argument that you're mentioning was brought up by, I think, California Congressmember Brad Sherman to Donald Trump himself on TV, and the truth actually came out. California can fund these things. It's New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine that can. Additionally, when you look at other countries like France, Spain, Germany, England, Philippines, Japan, China, Russia, India, Argentina, Brazil, they're able to join international coalitions to get this data. And as an independent country, we could do that. There isn't some coalition that we can't join that other independent countries can join. And there isn't some independent country that actually makes more money than us. We're the 5th largest economy. So if Germany, France, England, Spain, China, Japan, Russia, Argentina, Brazil, Canada are able to fund it all, so can we. And if the areas we can't, we would join the International Association. Economy, they would let us in. So that's just not true.
Okay, that's it for me for now.
Then the petition talks about forming a blue ribbon panel, I guess it's called, to find out how to logistically do this.
Yep.
And then they call for a vote. So all of those, we don't know the answers, but we do know that there's many other countries that do this, and they do survive. Okay, and so the whole point of this, I think what you said is, okay, so the other options aren't working. We need to start a conversation about this particular solution, and learn how could we do it, and we would learn a lot. Assuming that it all works out, that it could work out, and if you look at a history of maps, I found this book, I finally found it, and it's a history of atlases, basically. And you just go through and you look at all these parts of the world and all the times the boundaries change. This really isn't such a radical thing. The time is that we can't, allow our tax dollars to go toward sending people up to slave labor camps. This is the time to stand up, and people have done this throughout all of history. They've separated. So
boom, You got it.
Not-
That's the
not in the-
commercial. That's the commercial right there. That's the commercial right there. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. I know people have questions, but a lot of it still comes back to, are you seeing what's going on? Really? You see what's going on and you're like, it's fine. Really? Really?
I'm going to be right back. Sorry.
We'll take another question. Guest, if you can type in the private chat, I'll take your questions. We're trying to add you in. It says you're not connected, but you can type in the private chat questions, guest, and we will take those ones to answer anybody's questions. Here we go to California's ability to self-sustain is a genuine concern. It's not. So there are some criticisms about Governor Newsom right now, particularly with his handling of the Palisades wildfire. Additionally, he did a podcast with MAGA leaders, and he's starting to talk like Trump. That scares a lot of people. You'll see that around there. And there are questions about his leadership. Karen Bass, also of Los Angeles, has questions about her leadership. But there's a thing called the Public Policy Institute of California, the PPIC. It's basically the think tank for California. And they do surveys. Every survey they've done, Californians trust their California government more than the federal government. Period. End of story. So if people have concerns about our ability to govern ourselves, then America, I guess, shouldn't exist, right? Because they get to be a country and they have greater concern than we do. This is the same thing. People go, well, California would be in debt. You can't be a country. Okay, well, then collapse America, because America would be in more debt than we are. You can't say we can't do something and America's doing worse and gets to retain status as an independent country. That's just completely illogical. So we have a better debt profile and we have more support for our local government than people do for the federal government. So that basically means that it is a concern, but not to the level that it would disqualify us. And if it does, then America should cease to exist immediately, which no one's going to say. MAGA GOP needs California as a boogeyman to unite behind. True. But let's talk about the intelligence of the Republicans. I say this as an ex-Republican. They're not exactly smart. I left. We don't want to bring on Latin people and brown-skinned people, and we'd rather lose elections. Our whole point is to win elections, and we would rather lose elections than let those people in here, right? I told you about how I quit with Romney. That's because they did that. And then you saw Trump say Mexicans are all rapists when he came in 2016. So that's not exactly appealing to that crowd. That's an 8-year period of you're saying the total opposite thing in order to recognize the demographic reality of America, because you'd rather lose than let brown-skinned people be on your team. So my question is, while the Republicans may be aware of things, are they smart enough to play this out? Or are they going to say, I hate California, I hate California, I hate California, I hate California. Oh my God, we get a chance to get out of California. Great, they're gone. Gone, they're gone, great. Oh, did you know you lost money? What? Did you know they did this? What? Did you know they did that? No. What? Too late. You already made the decision. That's how ignorant they are. I'm surrounded by them. I talk to them at the highest levels. I'm networked to Republicans in 25 states. I was one.
Yeah.
They're dumb. They're ignorant. And they don't see a reason to get better because their worldview says that they already have it all. You guys are the ignorant ones who don't really get it. And you guys are the ones that watch TV shows that tell you the bad information. They're not going to listen, and they're not going to hear it. LA Times and San Francisco Chronicle literally did editorials when the Republicans did that convention saying the opposite, that California was the welfare queen and they were the donor state. And you had flabbergasted editorial reports in the top 2 newspapers in California going, how the hell did these people say this? It's not based on fact at all. How the hell did this happen? I didn't do that. That was the editorial board of 2 of the top major newspapers in California who were flabbergasted. So I refer to that and say, what evidence do we have that these people are smart enough to play the game to win the long term? Let's commit an insurrection. That'll be good for our brand. Let's walk back our condemnation of an insurrection. Let's have a guy give Nazi salutes on TV. It's madness. It's all madness.
So,
but yet they're
Marcus,
getting votes. So that's
True.
another reason to get out.
Exactly. Because the rational man theory has been disproven. People don't vote based upon, I looked at the economics and I compared every policy and I read the Republicans' policy manual, the Democrats' policy manual. That's how they did it in the 1960s. Those days are over. I interviewed 200 professors of political science. All the videos are on my channel. Since Barack Obama, neither party has tried to reach out to independent voters. The strategy for the Republicans and the Democrats since Obama ran in 2008 is activate your base. Don't even try to reach out to the other side, and don't even try to reach out to undecided. You may not get them. Better to spend all your money on just getting your base to come out. That's what political science professors have told me, and they said it started with Obama and everybody, including Biden. They've already given up on this whole reach out to the other side. They're talking like they care about other Americans, but when you actually look at the people who run the campaigns, you have to go back to before 2008 to find one when a presidential candidate actually tried to reach out to the other side. They won't publicly say that, but all their money goes to just getting their base activated. That's also how Trump won in 2016 and 2024. He didn't focus on getting new voters. He focused on activating his base, especially in those special states, and that worked. Every political scientist will tell you that. The people who run this country have already given up on bringing us together. They're just not going to publicly say it.
And so, Marcus, I am aware of time and that we are actually over for the meeting, over time, over 1 hour. I need to go get some dinner. Remember, we made a commitment to be timely and keep things orderly. So I would highly suggest, as the chairman, that we leave the conversation here for now. Anyone with more questions, please feel free to email Marcus at calexitnow.org, or you can email myself at jason@calexitnow.org.
Let me get that up.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jason is the chairman of the board. He's the top officer. We're going to end the show now. Thank you all. We tried to get all the questions. We will be back Sunday at 7 o'clock. We will be here. We'll answer all your questions. You'll get an email. And additionally, we have TikToks at 6 o'clock. And you can email either one of us, and we can answer the questions. Susan,
Yes.
please email me. And please, if you're willing, give me your phone number. I want to talk.
Okay,
I
sounds
really
fine.
want to talk to you, and I want Jay on the phone too. We'll leave it there. Thank you,
Viva
everybody.
todos Californios.
Bye.